Okay, let's start.
So, good evening. Here we are again. Tonight we have a special guests, two great artists from Brussels. It's Marcus Bergner and Myriam Van Imshoot, right? So, welcome to Belgrade, guys. And what brings you to Belgrade originally?
Serendipity.
Serendipity?
Serendipity, yeah.
Yeah.
We got offered a 3-month residency at Magazine.
Yeah.
So,
Magazine, yeah.
and we're here 1 month, and we go back to Brussels, and then we come back for another month.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing. It just came out of the blue, really.
Okay.
As they say. Although there was a few German strings attached, but it was really just luck and fortune. We didn't apply or anything.
Okay, you didn't apply for that.
No, it was sort of like headhunting.
Headhunting.
I don't like that.
Now you
term,
you sound like a New Yorker.
We got the invitation through Schloss Solitude in Stuttgart,
Uh-huh.
and the Germans provide the money. Although we didn't apply. No, it was just fell out of the sky.
Yeah, I think that as all organizations who don't have a lot of money, you're very resourceful and you have these networks. So Station Service can every year invite a resident with money that comes from elsewhere, from a network, and the one thing that is a condition is that they need to look for somebody on a list that once in their life did residence in Schloss Solitude in Stuttgart. So they look really on the list, alumni, yeah? And
random,
say,
yeah.
oh, let's, they did it. So,
Sure,
this
sounds
is interesting, yeah? Let's ask them if they're interested to come to Belgrade. So in fact, it was another residence that gave us this one. And it's a real bonus, like unexpected, and the better version of what the residence could be.
Oh.
Because, Schloss Solitude is very prestigious, very, privileged, all of this. While where we are now is closer to our heart. It's much more to our philosophy of working.
Okay, we'll come to that point about your
Yeah.
philosophy. I'm very keen, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
everybody here would like to know more about your philosophy of how you create your art and how you live your art. But we want to know what brought you to Belgrade, because in last year or two we have a lot of people coming and saying, "Oh, Belgrade is vibrating now as Prague used to, or Berlin," and we like to hear that. So when we hear somebody brought like quality artists to the Belgrade, and when we can witness what other people in Europe can witness, we are happy. So you're more than welcome here. So first of all, I don't know how to describe your art. I will let you do that. I know it's under the file of sound, poetry, performance, and I know Marcus is very well, a very good filmmaker. Also, you write the poetry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was.
Not a sort of published poetry, but it takes different forms. Like it can be a film, it can be a
Yeah, sure. That's visual poetry. We'll come to that.
chapbooks.
Yeah, I see. But you also do publish poetry, like in most ordinary form, like in the books.
Well, I used to write. Yeah, I publish stuff.
Sure.
But poetry, I read a lot of poetry,
Right.
but I don't publish a volume of. I'd love to be able to do that. I mean, I think that's one of the best artistic avenues is just to write a book of poetry and then put it out and just leave it there.
Sure.
But I haven't done
Sure.
that. I mean, I write texts for performances or for recipes, whatever. I'm not sure. But yeah, poetry, it's a bit hard to say poet. I wouldn't say
Sure.
I'm a published poet.
I must say, like, when you turn up other day and you were looking in a bookshop for books, we exchanged we were chatting about literature and stuff. So you made me buy a copy of the Joyce Finnegan's Wake, because you said you should read it even if you don't understand it. I tried many years ago, and because we were talking and we actually wanted to do this conversation, so I bought the book and I was reading a little bit, maybe 10 pages, just to have idea about what you were saying that day. And it's still very hard for me to, put under one category what you guys do. And that's why we are so thrilling and intrigued to find out, because over the days we've seen few films, I was reading few articles there. I know you're very knowledgeable about film, and you're a film critic too. Also, I've seen her pieces about yodeling. That was amazing. That lady was just amazing and reminded me of so many things I've seen in my life. I also had, personally I had some flashbacks watching that. So, can you first tell us what is sound poetry?
I mean, the best description I can say is that it's something that we've been trying to work out ourselves. I mean, I was thinking about it because this is the question that everybody asks. Concrete poetry? Concrete poetry is for the page, and it uses space of the page, and it opens up the dynamics of the book or the structure of the book into a kind of it liberates the word on the page. Whereas sound poetry, there are many practitioners of the past. Rabelais wrote sound poetry, children's rhymes, troubadours, and then there's of course the 20th century, Raoul Hausmann and Kurt Schwitters, and but it's using language or voice in a liminal way, pushing the limits to. I can't mouth music. Maybe it's. Yeah.
Does it have to do something with synesthesia?
Synesthesia.
Yeah, synesthesia. Yeah. Because Kandinsky first was a poet, and then he turned painter.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
I mean, it has many different uses. I mean, 2 years ago, Myriam and I put on a show in Melburnu, based on the works of Elaine Gura, this Russian organic futurist who worked in the early part of the 20th century. And she wrote sound poetry to simulate the sound of nature.
Sure.
She made a great poem, it's online, called Finlandia. And it's using Russian words, and then you get to hear the sound of wind and trees.
I heard that. Just the other day. You see, this is coincidence. I just heard that. Yeah. That's amazing. So, it's a lot of windy, like a windy tonnage there.
Right. What is sound poetry?
So,
Bob Cobbing, who you saw in the film, was very much about, and both a good friend of mine and Bernard Heidsieck would say that sound poetry is to bring poetry back to the body.
Sure.
And
is that again Pythagorean, some Pythagoreanism into that, with the vibration of the body, which is also, the Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher. The Pythagoras. It's all about the vibration. It's like the artist, the poet could be at the point in the world which is vibrating, like everything is vibrating around us. So the Habnikov wrote. You remember we spoke about Habnikov, yeah? And he is probably the first one who actually came with that. He was a big surprise to Russians also. There was a lot of people around doing similar thing, but he was very extreme. and that's that again synesthesia thing. You know, like his words, his onomatopoeic words
Yeah.
was vibrating, and people would see the different colors. And that's what they say when the Klemnikov was falling in a trance. But I witnessed something similar in Asia, with all these calendars and stuff who are falling in a trance, and people think it's a nonsense, but then they do something to you, and then you see them in under different aura or color, and that's my understanding of the sound poetry.
I mean,
It could
today,
be, yeah.
Today we were rehearsing we're doing a performance in Brussels when we get back, and we're rehearsing some number of things that we've come up with, and I still have to question what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not sure what it is, but it's captured me. It's got to do with listening to the voice in a different way, and I don't know, energy, presence.
Sure. But you said, I've seen I was reading an article, and you said when you were watching classical movies, sometimes you felt suffocating because you could actually see dimensions of the very same things being told differently, right? And that's what makes you an experimental filmmaker.
I'm not sure when I read that.
Yeah, it's right there. Article you wrote in Melbourne probably 20 years, 30 years ago, or something.
Right.
Yeah, like you were
The
talking about.
introduction to the text that explains why you started making the incomprehensibles
Yeah, the incomprehensibles. Yeah, yeah.
and the film critique that you were
Yeah,
doing
no, that's
and looking for
that's
other.
good. Yeah.
So is it a similar experience when you are when you have to deliver the poetry? You just feel.
Somebody, yeah, I really
Too
have
much.
no answer to these. Yeah,
Mm.
sorry. Funny. I've gone blank.
That's
I need another hook. I think it was this. I actually told my life history in this article where I start off about
Sure.
how I got into things. Yeah, which I can't remember too well, but it was a. I love old cinema. I mean, I mean, I was really enmeshed in experimental film for 30 years, and I've turned off that since my last film. But yeah, it's been 3 years since I've shown anything.
When did you make your first film?
I don't know. I think I was 12.
12 with the Super 8 camera?
Yeah, was
Sure.
Super 8.
Nice.
It's sort of a Greek mythology film, a bit like Micropolis.
Yeah. We
I
mentioned.
had a school friend come out of the ocean
Sure.
with a sheet around him.
Nice. And then later when you became film critic, you start thinking in more like experimental way
Well,
of
I
doing.
wasn't a critic. Let's say we would organise. We had a film club
Right.
like you had here in Belgrade. Like
Yeah, but you mentioned
enthusiasts
yeah.
coming together to show films and make films.
Bresson.
We make
you
our own
mentioned all
films and show
these
them.
guys, the classics, right?
Yeah.
So
So we had to curate and promote and make.
sure.
But in Australia, there's a very good film collection which has amazing collection, and we were able to we just pay the freight from Canberra,
Sure.
and we had regular screenings of all the greats of Macropolis, Mari Menken,
Yeah,
you
man.
name it,
I'm sure.
Valerie Export, Kurt Krajem.
So how long you been on the road? Myriam, for what, 40 years doing what you're doing?
I've been on the road 20 years ago. Like,
20 years?
I've been on the road as a, you know, in the driving seat, as a co-pilot, in the back seat,
In the boot.
in the boot, in the bus. But maybe in the last 10 years I've been throwing the stone and say this is probably where the path will take us. Before I was more in collaborations, and the last
Sure.
10 years I've been throwing stones.
Okay, that's good.
For me it's an image to say we don't know where it falls, but you bind yourself to follow where it fell, like in
Sure.
in the film.
So when they fall, you waiting for a reaction, or you don't care?
I'm usually somebody who starts from a very clear wish and a clear idea, like nearly like I want to do this, or I want to like really, but I don't know how, and I don't know how actually the experiences on the road will change the end destination. But I start from thinking, this is my arrogance and my naivete and my desire. I start usually from something that is clearly speaks to me as the wish of what I what I like to attempt.
Is it like a voice, or just a feeling?
I don't know. Maybe you've listened to the voice, but sometimes it's really something very stupid. Really, like a space. Let's say the space inspires me. I would love to, with that type of space, work with this.
Sure.
Or it can be a person. A lot of my work is based on encounter, and nearly something starts when you meet somebody and you say, we're not only gonna make something together, but I pay tribute to you while making this. I mean, you make tribute to whatever else is there, but it's very specific triggers.
I see.
Yeah, and there's one exception, and that is the work I do with Marcus, which is less. It's because we also are a couple and we have a daily life. Things don't work from projection. Yeah, it doesn't even work from logic of a project. It works from the logic of being together and running into each other
And having
frequently
incidental.
enough
Sure.
on a daily basis.
Sure. Sure. Good. So can you tell us a little bit that performance which you would accomplish in Belgrade in a couple of months? What it's all about?
It's a wrong phrasing for me because I come personally from very productive year of accomplishment of lots of things that are in the pipeline and need to enter public sphere. And I think this is a truly playground of another kind. We
Belgrade, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to play with voice and with shadows. Light.
Lights, yeah.
I don't know if I rephrase this as now what to be accomplished in October.
Sure.
It never happened so far that we just could go every day to a studio and have 3 hours that you make shadows for each other
Uh-huh.
and discover, like in a Rorschach test,
Uh-huh.
you know Rorschach,
Sure.
what could happen the next day, and from there we're taking it. We see in October we present something on the basis of this. Call it daily ritual. Daily ritual of playing with shadows.
Sounds great. Yeah. Sounds great.
So, another word, great, can be like cheese too.
Well,
I like
it
the-
could be like a cheese, yeah.
grating the cheese, but yeah, it has been good.
Right.
Good doing.
But for us, it is great, you know, because
It's great to be here, to see that.
honestly, we don't have too many chances to actually witness that kind of, you know, if I can call performances or art.
Mhm.
Here is more traditional, you know, like that suffocation you were talking about watching a classical films. You feel it for, you know, centuries, because
Oh, yeah, you mean I was having panic attacks?
almost.
Yeah, that's what I was having panic attacks watching.
I don't have a panic attacks because
Yeah.
well,
I
what's
was
the
young,
use
and
panicking? You
I was
know,
making
like,
films
if you recognize you can't change much of that, then
Yeah.
what's the use panicking? But then you know when you have fresh air, you know, like somebody coming with something different, it's great. That's why I say it's great. Something which is more, shall I say, metaphysical,
Mm.
or so that we definitely, from our point of view here in people of Belgrade, we would like to have more artists like you guys. You know.
But I have a different perspective.
Sure.
In around 2001, my scene dramatically changed with the exodus of lots of Serbian. At that time, it became clear, maybe it started in the 90s, for reasons we know, but around 2001, it became incrementally clear how many Serbian artists, theorists, writers had come to Europe,
Sure.
to Belgium, Netherlands, and it was not only, incursion. It was not only something that then got integrated, it changed the art scene, and it had a high level of critical thinking. It had a high level of everything that I still recognize when I'm here. So we already were exposed to amazing artists and culture and theory before coming here.
Yeah, but in your country, not in.
Yeah,
We
Serbian.
were exposed.
Yeah.
So just to say that it is an amazing scene, an amazing intellectual.
Yeah, I
art
have a
scene.
lot of flashbacks.
It's
of
a
people-
diaspora, right? We're
Yeah,
talking
it's a
about
diaspora which is abroad. Yeah, that's
And what-
they're abroad.
And what is the dynamics with what is here? That I
Yeah,
would like,
well, we would like them to come
Yeah.
back.
of course. And
To be put in a simple way.
maybe
we would
there's
like to-
something about, you know, this term of ghost riding, when you go on the
Sure.
opposite side of the highway.
Sure.
We would like to ghost ride instead of exodus to Europe.
Yeah, sure.
Come,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. So when you say critical thinking, when you meet all this diaspora like
Yeah.
Bulgarians, Serbs, Romanians,
Yeah.
Albanians, all coming there for more fresh air, like in what sense? More like academic?
No, I find it condescending to call fresh air because they are they're trying to start a new life.
Mm-hmm.
They are on the basis of amazing qualities.
Mhm.
Then becoming colleagues and collaborators. I think of critical thinking, yes. I think of Bojana Svejić, Igor Dobričić, Bojana Mladenović, people who took many positions as dramaturgs, as organizers, curators, collaborators, teachers. I'm thinking of artists. They preceded a curiosity for coming here, and it was a bit of a mystery why that has not happened before. Like why we had to, literally be fished from alumni list, to come here and discover the city.
So city of Belgrade gives you some kind of inspiration, right? Or some kind of recharge of some, you said different energy.
Well, for me, it's also the plague. I mean,
playground.
Plague, the epidemic, the pandemic. I mean, we were sitting on our balcony in Brussels for 2 years, waiting for an opportunity to leave. So this was the first opportunity we had,
right?
And it was very difficult to get all the paperwork and stuff because we don't like. I mean, there was a lot of bureaucratic argy-bargy to get the certificates and stuff. But I mean, I came here with a completely open book, open page. I like it. Myriam loves it, if I may say so. I mean, I'm inspired only through the fact that I'm in another hemisphere, another milieu. I'm not I don't scrutinize nationalities that strongly. I mean, for me, this idea that we all come from one nationality called childhood rings true to me. I don't follow that. But I think tomorrow or Saturday we're going to the Yugoslavian Museum, so maybe we'll be given we'll develop our chops.
Yeah. You will see interesting things there. Now they clear their act. Now they're mixing. It's interesting. When I was there like 40 years ago last time, and then a couple of weeks ago I did visit, and I was nicely impressed how they actually put everything together. It looks like a joke, like all these revolutions and everything.
Intentional.
Yeah, it looks like a joke now. So
we went to the pedagogical museum, the educational museum. Yes. It's in the city. It is a very amusing place.
Right.
They have little dummies of children and thrown corn on the ground and stuff. It was quite beautiful old specimens of educational interest. Yeah.
Sure.
But actually, to answer your question, I often say it's like India when I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's a great compliment because I go to India often and I love India and I have this feeling here.
Yeah, well, in this place or in Belgrade? Belgrade, yeah.
Oh,
we have the same feeling.
Bookshop I have it too.
We have the same feeling. I was in India and yes, a few times, and yes, we have that kind of spontaneous kind of. Sometimes it works against you, but most of the time it's alright because it makes you feel alive. When you walk Manhattan now or Brussels and so everything looks same. Barcelona looks like London with palms, and Nice looks like New York with. Belgrade is still in transition, and I don't guarantee in 20 years from now will still give you that thrill. Probably not, but right now it's alright. People mix, and it will be interesting with all these immigrants now more coming, because when they come over, they feel it's a home, but they don't want to stay because they star-eyed. They want to open restaurants, and workshops in Germany or somewhere. But here they feel like home because they can eat that food, and So essentially, I don't think we are racists. Which Serbs were portrayed like 20, 30 years ago, very much, especially in the Western media. I lived in New York and I lived in London, so at some point I had to hide the fact that I'm Serbian, right? I couldn't talk to everybody like, oh, but man, you didn't live in 60s, 70s, 80s in Yugoslavia, so the racism is not in our essence. I think we unrooted that after Second World War. What happened in 90s? That's somebody else too. Please come in. Yeah, please come in. Please come in. Yeah, please sit somewhere. We are deeply into conversation. You missed all the good stuff. Now we are talking about personal stuff.
Go back to Finnegan's Wake.
All right. So she was translating. That's Maria. These are our guests. She was translating Khlebnikov,
Wow.
which is an amazing job. Translating Khlebnikov, right? And so guys,
Questions?
any questions? Because maybe you have a question. You just arrived.
That would be nice for the freshly arrived.
No, I'm sure she
yeah?
would, but a little bit later. Come on, Nicholas, shoot it. You're an artist, also foreigner in Belgrade. Now, you're not foreigner, you're like a brother, but officially foreigner.
Yeah.
No, but we were discussing beforehand about the modus operandi of your videos and how the scripted part, and so you started to elaborate it, and then we moved in for the interview. So maybe we can keep on a bit on yeah.
Well, every film is different,
Mhm.
kettle of fish. But I mean, my films are every film is different. But the Afar film, the Thread of Voice, which comes from the title comes from a poem by Gloria Fortes, The Thread of Voice That Connects Us All, and that and Afar, our work is never improvised, except in practices. We improvise. We bring text to each other and improvise maybe on those and work on that. But we always, when we perform, it's very rare that we improvise. I mean, or we may have a conceptual or framework to which we're going to do something that's quite worked out. And the films, each film is different. Were you referring to films?
No, that's it's good to speak
don't know.
about the thread of voices, because it has. Well, it's a bit longer. It's also there is more production in it, and there's maybe the fragmentation of it is more obvious. You have different crew. You have a London crew singing. You have this last part when you develop this kind of score, and with the screen, and that's also very interesting the way how you would interact with this visual score. So yeah, even the fragments, the way they would work together, that's all scripted. You know exactly where you're heading. I mean, you guys with you know where you headed when you start the film. Yeah.
Well, it's the only film we got funding. Like we got 90,000 Australian dollars to make that film, which was an enormous amount at the time, and we all got wages. And I was living in London, and I was able to participate from London, and I came back for the edit. But there was a lot of it had to be produced, and the credits you can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
So there wasn't a lot of, but everything was equal. We were 4 directors, 4 animators, 4 performers. So that was a really wonderful opportunity to be a collective filmmakers, and we were all independent experimental filmmakers on our own. So it was wonderful and very tedious in a sense we had to develop our own language to communicate. Performing is okay, but making the film was another issue, and fortunately it worked out. But we paid homage to Bob Cobbing, Paul Leclerc, and Bill Griffiths, who appear in the film, and they influenced us. Well, Bob Cobbing, we met him in London in the early 80s when we were all living in London, and we wanted to pay homage to him because he really put us on the road of sound poetry. We used to go to his house in Maida Vale and look at his books, and he introduced us to the whole. So he was a big influence. But improvisation isn't in our vocabulary. I can say from my own memory of it all, we never.
That's the impression I had. There is grammar in the film, even if the old projects are different. On the 5 of them, there's some similarity, like grammatical similarities.
You mentioned that you're not very happy when your films are like shown on this digital, like it. You prefer
it's like looking at a. It's like looking at a Paul Klee on a postage stamp.
Yeah. Paul Klee printed on some cloth. Yeah.
Right.
Tablecloth.
Well,
I know. But
blow your nose on a cloth. But I don't. I mean, the films were made with light and cinematic.
Sure.
The Roland Barthes thing about sitting in a cinema with strangers, all of that. This is great. I love cinema. The experience.
But so how do you feel with all these cinemas being closed? Like honestly, in New York Anthology Film Archive, when they, show Harry Smith, who was extremely, severe about how his films should be projected, like very few people turn up, and they're nervous. They don't, they don't want to. Roles to be changed. They like. So what is it? Is it because the new breed?
His juices going, as well as drinking copious amounts of milk, he had this juice that he needed to produce to make his films, which is the light, and sitting in a room with the light, and that he had to keep to that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the same. So,
sure.
I mean, sure, now the Harry Smith box is on everybody's shelf, but the Harry Smith DVD box. But I think it was.
Is the DVD out?
I don't know, but
no,
could
it's
have been.
not. No.
I mean, because he has no control anymore.
No, the control had the director, his sponsor, Jonas Mekas,
well, he's not
but he died, and it's still not clear. Jonas was fighting because there was too many rip-offs. The Hollywood people, commercials. So they say, "Oh, this is so great! Can we get it on our new commercial?" And we're gonna make money with all this Harry Smith shit. And And
what about Robert Brea?
Robert Brea also not available on DVD box. The Revoir was, and he's great. So
but you can't tell. When you see a Harry Smith or a Robert Brea, you can't if you see you can't replicate it. I mean, it's so unique.
I agree with you. So that's like going to the church almost. Watching those.
It's just an artistic experience. It's sitting in the cinema watching a Brea or a Smith or a Raquel Blackout or a
You had a question regarding
Can cameraman ask a question? Okay, thank you. I'm over 60, so I have experienced in my education and my life different levels of media. Hard copies, paper, first black and white, and then color. Then color slowly came here. Probably color showed up probably 68, 69
TV?
here. No, color press.
Printing.
Printing, yes. Newspapers, magazines, and then TV probably 71, 72.
The later the better, I think.
Okay.
Not like America, a little bit later.
And I think very much these days and these months about this problem of virtual experience. So I have been looking and experiencing performances, okay? So artists should come to a certain place, then you have to buy the ticket, you have to show on a certain time, and then there's the artist, and then you are, okay, just you look that, and that's experience, and who knows when you will see him.
That's right.
And now many things have changed, and I cannot custom fully to this new virtual reality, this conversation over computer. He's in United States or in London, and we just talk on the computer. So I don't want this to be a provocation to you, but what do you think about all this virtual cloud art, virtual art? Yeah, I think you know that there is special digital copies of digital art starting selling and buying and selling. Yeah, in the United States there was
Bitcoin.
No. It's a special model of digital art, okay, which is stored only on your computer, and you buy it, and you just can look at it, and it's not available to any other. So what's your stand on all these changes in this world, artistic experience, and also possibility for you to show your art to the public?
Well, I can start by saying I'm over 62 and I'm looking at life backwards. So, I mean, everything's going back to front. But we are here, we've been working with shadows, like, you know, just doing simple shadow deflection of light. It's very cinematographic, but it's not. It's like, it feels so comfortable. It's present in the room with us, and I feel very happy with that. I don't want to go back to cinema, almost just with light and drawing has become very important to me. But in the last 2 years, since the pandemic, I'm part of a collective in Brussels of migrants, asylum seekers, sans-papiers, and from all different parts living in Brussels, and there's 7 of us. And we started an online Zoom sound poetry practice,
okay,
which was very illuminating and opened up, became quite liberating and revealing that we could use the Zoom to make practicing sound poetry, you know, abstract sound with noise, voices, and just devising different ways of being in the room. But it was really, really good. Kind of, it fulfilled something interesting. But with all my skepticism and horror of Zoom and virtual reality, I actually felt something that was there. The malaise, the mental midgetry, the constrictions that all these, and lack of experience that all these things, mediums are creating. If you can approach it in a certain way, you may be able to crack it or reveal it in a way. And I mean, this is just by 7 people, and then we opened it up to people around Europe. People would be in Belfast or Berlin, and they'd have their mobile phone and they'd be in a park doing sound poetry, and we'd be in Brussels in a park doing sound poetry with a mobile phone. We could hear the birds and it was all going through Zoom. Anyway, it was very unorthodox use of Zoom, making noise, vocal noise, and we'd make up our own poems. But what I'm trying to say is that it revealed something. It kind of like the fever, reduced the fever of this disease.
Of the time, yes.
Yeah. So it was a palliative. But I'm not at all happy about all of this.
So you use that of necessity.
Sorry?
You're using that of necessity, pure necessity.
Yeah, and also just
No, not as a favorable.
it became favourable. It became possible to actually think about it, using it quite favourably. I mean, a lot of people were interested to break the fatigue and the problems they were having mentally after using Zoom all the time. They would use it. It would liberate. But no, it's no substitute for the real sound. Actually,
Okay.
we also were experimenting with the sound of Zoom, how it senses voices, like only two voices or one voice or different tone of a voice would have a preference that would cut people out. I mean, we do all sorts of things like speak over the top of each other and see who would come up, or I don't know. We sabotage or manipulate or configure ourselves against the medium.
So that was just a simple experiment.
Yeah, but it lasted for 2 years. We were doing it regularly each week for 2 years, so it was quite ongoing. We were during the lockdowns and stuff.
Okay.
But it was really nothing much different to making films with no money in the 80s and 70s. We were making home processing films, handwriting onto them, using this medium for very sort of heretical ways.
Unorthodox.
Heretical.
Unorthodox, yes.
I will use the Pasolini.
Heretical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A-G-R,
Like
yeah,
Pasolini.
heretical, yeah. Okay.
I'd rather be a...
Talking about your past,
Yeah.
you grew up in Melbourne, right?
Uh-huh.
And you hang with Ron Howard and Nick Cave and all these guys, right?
Uh-huh.
And
I
you
mean,
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
well, I knew you'd ask me, and I don't usually talk about it, but
Just a little bit, because
Well, I know.
here they have a huge following. Nick Cave,
Yeah.
they just announced next year he's coming back. Wow, he's gonna be huge, a real circus.
yeah,
But what I remember,
yeah.
you remember we spoke about that. We were in the same concert,
Yeah,
like
that's
almost
right, it was
40 years
amazing.
years ago.
March the 8th.
Yeah, I can imagine you in
1983.
1983 in that Lyceum, dancing
Yeah.
there like.
Well, I wasn't dancing, I was watching and listening, but I wasn't a huge fan of their music. I mean, I was their friend,
Yeah.
and we had sort of literally Roland, Tracy, and Nick were my friends.
Sure.
Nick still is, but the others no longer on the world. So, and it's a kind of emotional.
Roland was your friend, right?
Very close. We're all very. Roland, Tracy, and Nick were from very early on. We lived together in London and stuff.
Roland was, we really like him, and in the last 15 years, a lot of people actually presumed Roland is a great guy and Nick is not that great.
No.
Anyway, that's how.
I agree. I mean,
well,
when I learned, I didn't know them personally, like as old friends, and
Right.
talking about art and literature.
Right.
Roland was a very voracious reader and very witty, interesting character, like an eccentric.
Yeah, I
great,
could see that.
great. And he, I heard his last album. He gave it to me. The last album just before he died. Was called,
Yeah, it came out. I forgot it.
Pop Crimes. Was it Pop?
Pop Crimes,
Yeah,
yes, Pop Crimes.
And I loved it, but I usually wouldn't like. I don't like this sort of music
Right.
that much.
Yeah, not that much anymore.
Well, I sort of do, but I'm more into classical avant-garde music.
Sure.
But this particular one reminded me of expressionist poetry. the way
Sure,
he
it was
articulated
all
the
about
lines.
expressionism.
Yeah.
I used to listen a lot. Me and my ex, we would listen in New York his album with Nicky Sudden, two guitars and like ballads, and those two are that record made us cry. So we were already full-grown people, and my ex came from San Francisco, he came from Belgrade, we met in New York, and both of us were like struck with that kind of energy and passion in Roland's and Nikki's. You know Nikki Sudden from Swell
Nikki
Maps,
Sudden,
right?
yeah.
So that was it. You can see they're real people, you know. So anyway, that's amazing, you know. So
There's only so many people you know. Huh?
well, yeah. Unfortunately, less and less. Yes, the industry, that's another issue. We don't want to. I kind of imagine a question for you, like how do you see like the gap in between the independence now and the massive entertainment industry?
It doesn't affect me because
Yeah.
actually I'm only here because I knew in Belgrade there was going to be a bookshop like yours, and I
Right.
sniffed it out. I mean,
So
I
that's
just had a
your
sense.
lightship.
That's my
right?
life. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in mass popular culture or you know.
Yeah, but we want to touch these young people to art you produce, no, not to the crap. The massive industries actually shoveling in their head.
So you have a bit of an evangelistic streak.
Well, yeah. I'm more like a martyr already, still alive, right? So I'm just kidding.
I don't know what my problem is. I don't feel like that. I mean, I don't feel like I need to blow my trumpet too much.
Yeah. Well, we will blow trumpets for you.
Or,
Because-
to convert people or...
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy teaching, but I don't... enjoy-
That's it. You see, that's the way. You know, that's the way to promote. That's another way to
So
promote.
maybe we can ask about everybody here. I mean,
Ask?
if I could ask what you're doing. I mean, in Belgrade and
Yeah, sure.
what the connection
Start
is
from
to the bookshop.
what you-
Maybe.
Introduce yourself. Say what you do.
My name is Alexander and I'm art builder.
Aha, really?
I was born from
Interesting.
How about you?
Hannes, I'm working in dental practice.
Dental.
Dental, yes. Yeah. And I want to ask you, you use the word serendipity,
Yes.
the first word, and you see Doppelganger film,
Yes.
and I think you remember me in Bresson, notice of cinematographer, when some point find without searching. That's you're similar to you. I would say
Bresson.
art credo or something.
So they put you in Bresson.
Yeah,
Robert
Bresson,
Bresson.
notice of cinematographer. Yeah.
Oh, the notes from the cinematographer. I can't remember that book. I mean, I read it years
Yeah.
ago, but yeah. Right, yeah. I actually just remembered the from Balthazar. Just had this flashback of the donkey
Yeah.
looking in the eyes of all the other animals. Yeah. I don't know if that relates to anything. But there was amazing. That's the most amazing scene I remember from this film.
That's related to Apuleius, the golden ass. Yeah, did you read that?
Yes. No.
Sooner or later, we all will try. We can be donkeys.
Yeah.
So, how about you?
I'm Goran, writing films and a little bit of ambient music,
Wow.
like modern classic, minimalism.
I heard my nephew said there's very good ambient music here in Belgium.
Yeah. Sort of.
Is it?
You mentioned avant-garde music.
Uh-huh.
You're into.
Well, lots of stuff, but I mean, Luigi Nono, maybe I could say.
Sorry.
Luigi Nono. I mean, you know. Schoenberg, very bad.
Schoenberg. We know what you do, so that's why you're living, right? And Alexandra is.
I'm a art enthusiast at the moment, only art lover.
Uh-huh.
But I used to be a camera person, a video editor, and I was involved with the organizations who were dealing with culture.
Uh-huh. So like public education.
No, it's more like festivals, workshops.
You're making
Promoters.
films.
Yeah.
I did on some films and on some following videos that follow the cultural events, other artists.
Yes. So you see, more talented people. Probably you'll see them in Brussels next year.
Okay. Well, there is no.
You never know. Hopefully they'll bring their careers over here. All right. So,
I'll just say that I was thinking about why I do it as a passionate hobby. This is the only thing I can think of.
passionate hobby.
I
Yeah.
think I got it from Dan Graham, but you're an enthusiast of art, which it rings true to me. You know, being passionate hobbyist. This whole thing about
That's him. Now you describe him, passionate hobbyist.
Yeah. I collect vinyl,
Oh yeah,
analog. That's basically my main conflict now, analog and digital. So analog and digital over Zoom. And I'm a little bit worried about the future. Maybe conservative, but still.
I have a lot of young nephews, and they all love vinyl, and they're all in their 30s and 20s. And there seems to be that there's a new wish for it.
Yeah. Revival.
Vinyl, yes.
It's a bit bigger because of the sound.
So you're not.
No, I mean it's a revival of vinyl because of the sound itself.
Yeah.
It's not some nostalgic.
No, that's right.
It's real.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I don't know if this has been much help for your blog, which I don't even know what a blog is.
Are you kidding us?
No, I'm not.
Kidding us?
I never look at a blog.
Yeah, come on.
It's true. I have never. I don't know what a blog is.
One day we do as
Make it a self-reflective medium.
one day as a passionate hobbyist, we're gonna watch all these people we actually record here, and we're gonna feel we did something significant in our life.
And so we've got an
Because-
archive of your blogs.
Yeah, on the way, archive,
Okay.
and
So a blog is, as I understand, a blog is like a news broadcast. private.
yeah, but we didn't reach that point yet. If my American millionaire friend give me $500,000, then I can employ some young people to keep doing some news and stuff, exchanging, But right now, we're like you. We're looking more backwards than forwards, So we like to read.
Good eye on the rear view vision.
Yeah.
But blog, where does the word come from?
Blog.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably comes from Finnegan's Wake, I'd say.
It could be.
A lot comes from Finnegan's Wake, and
Yeah, I
I
did.
must say to you before we knock off the
Right.
blog, is that you've got to read it aloud. You can't read it even if you're on, and then it'll make sense.
Trust me, I figured that out. I was reading. I was with Maria in Moscow like 10 years ago, and I was reading, and my Russian is not very good. I can understand. Я понимаю, but не могу поговорить. I can't talk that because I learned a long time ago. So on the Hlavnikov's graveyard, I was reading his poetry, which even Russians cannot read. So I'm pretty sure they called police because I was shouting. And I actually I thought he deserved that. Somebody to come on his grave, start shouting, his poetry, любовь, 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 love. And people were just staring. So and I said, what's wrong? We should talk about love on the mazars, on the graveyards. That's the right place. As the dervishes used to say, the dervishes, kalandars, They say On the funerals, dance and laugh, and on the weddings, cry. When I tell that to the people, they say, you go to mental institution, you know, don't come to my wedding. It's all right, you know, and that's what it is. You know, it's like opposite, you know, so.
It's funny you should mention the Kleberkov with Dervish, because the Dervish are very influenced by the birds, the sound of birds. And Kleberkov was a bird watcher. That's how he got into it all. His father was a scientist, a bird. Birds were big. Birds are very big in the history of sound.
Of course, the most important book for Dervishism for already 1200 years is Attar's the bird poem.
Yes, Conference of Birds.
Yeah, Conference of the Birds, when they all came, you know, they all go to the one source. And that's amazing. It's amazing. I'm just about to read, because Iranian Cultural Center, they translate and they sold all the books. Now they don't have money to republish, and they offered me, and I'll do it, because it's a great book that should go to. We actually I cracked into like a national library with 2-3 Sufi books, because here, thanks to the wars in '90s, you know, xenophobia and all kind of stuff, you know, there was a big barrier for that kind of literature. But in the last 2 years, I cracked with 2 of them. So now in every single library in Serbia, there is 2 of my books. Not the books I wrote, the books I published. One is about Mevlana Rumi, and the other one is Yunus Emre poetry. That's another great poet. So hopefully we will, we'll keep pushing.
Once you get on the library circuit, you're.
Oh yeah, like, you know, like 100. That's it. You know, that's it. So shall we wrap it up? That was a pleasure. Let me just say before we wrap it up that our guests will have a performance in Magazine in the end of October. We don't know the date yet, but I know I will be there, and I'm pretty sure everybody here will be there. So with God help, we'll be there. Inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you.